Welcome back, friends, to another budget meal video. Today I'll be sharing 11 recipes. We will be tackling ramen, whatever you call it. Let's get into the ingredients. Okay guys, so these are the items that I'm going to be using, the ones that are in the shopping list. This was the package of ramen that I was talking about from Dollar Tree with 5 in it. The beef flavor. And these are the ones that I get from Walmart. Well, actually, I get these from Sam's in a big container. So these are a different brand, of course, from this one, but they're the same to me. Okay, and this one, just like I said, was 2 servings per container of noodles. So they're pretty much the same. So this is, of course, chicken flavor, and this is beef. So I'm going to be interchanging between the two. It really doesn't matter. So that's just what I'm going to be doing. And then here's my coconut milk. Here's my black beans. These are my diced tomatoes. And I just split it out of this 28-ounce container of diced tomatoes. Then here's my curry powder. I have a lot of curry powder, and this is one that I split out of another container. This is ground ginger, because I don't have any fresh ginger right now. And then, of course, minced garlic, because I don't have any fresh garlic. Then I have 3 eggs here. If I need more, I'll just grab them. These are the mixed vegetables from Walmart. And this is the California style mix. So this is a little different because it has broccoli, cauliflower, and carrots. And I didn't have another Walmart frozen vegetables. I had the one from Dollar Tree, so I'm going to be using that. It's the same thing. And of course my butter, well, faux butter. And then with this, I'm going to be pulling out some of the vegetables. I'm going to be separating the out some of the peas and some of the corn. And with this one, I'm going to be separating the broccoli from the cauliflower. And the beans, I will be rinsing them. I have my pot of water boiling, well, getting ready to boil, and I'm gonna put about 3 packets of noodles in here once this boils, and I'll just let it sit. It doesn't have to cook. It does need to rehydrate because of the meals that we'll be making. It just makes sense to rehydrate them. If you cook them or you turn the water on and let them boil and walk away, you will get mush if you're not careful. So that's what we're gonna do. So I'll be back. Okay, so my water's boiling. I'm going to go ahead and turn it off. And I've just moved it off of the burner. So I'm just going to go ahead and throw in about 3 of these for now, and then I'll throw the other ones in a minute, and I'll be back. Okay, so I'm just stirring these around, trying to hydrate them. And once they hydrate, I'm going to put them in a bowl with cold water, just so I can come back, because I'm doing all these recipes in one day. And then I'm going to reserve some of the pasta water just in case I need it. And we'll be back. Okay, so here it is in the water. There's ice in there. And then I reserve some of the pasta water because I will be making soups and such, and I may need this. So I'm just holding on to some just in case. So we're going to go ahead and shop this, and we'll proceed with the recipes. Alright, bye. Okay, so just in case you guys were wondering, this is the broccoli and the cauliflower split out of the bag. So of course you have more cauliflower and broccoli. And then of course I separated out my peas and my carrots. So that's that. So peas and carrots. Okay, friends, so we're going to go into my everyday recipe. This is something that is pretty generic. It's nothing fancy, but I like it. So to my pot, remember, I'm just reheating the noodles, and from there I'm adding the beef flavor packet. Beef is the one that I like the most. Usually I don't even have this much water in it, but because I'm reheating it, I'm going to go ahead and add some complete seasoning and some hot sauce. And all I'm doing is put it in the bowl, and see, there was too much water, so I took the water back out. And I'm just going to let that sit for a while. And then that's the way I like it. But guess what? I need some more hot sauce. Yes, please. More hot sauce. The more hot sauce, the better. Okay, now we're going to move into egg drop soup. This is number 2. So to my pot, I'm adding back in some water just to reheat. And then, of course, I'm going to add some of my chicken seasoning packet, a little soy sauce, some ginger. Remember, I don't have fresh ginger. And then I have sesame oil. If you don't have it, don't worry about it, but you can always ask your local Chinese restaurant if they have extra to send it with your next meal. And then to that, I'm just gonna add some beaten egg. That was just one egg that I beat. And I'm gonna stir it around. Now I could have taken it off the heat or stirred it slower, but because I want my egg kind of cooked and I like to have that meaty texture in there, that's why I stirred it and kept it on the heat as long as I did. So to that, I went ahead and added my noodles. And here it is all plated up. I just garnished it with a little bit of green onion because that's what I had on hand. This was super delicious. You must give it a try. Super cheap, super delicious. So let's move on to our next one, which is a butter garlic ramen. So to my pot, I'm just adding some butter, about a tablespoon or so. You add as much as you want. So we're going to try to brown this fake butter on down. So I'm just going to let it go ahead and continue to simmer. And then I'm just stirring it, trying to keep an eye on it. And I'm going to go ahead and add olive oil. That helps it to continue to cook and brown without burning. From there, I'm going to go ahead and add some garlic. But my pan gets super hot, so of course I take it off the stove. Brought it back because burnt garlic is disgusting garlic. So here I'm just stirring everything around and see it's got nice and brown. To that, I just went ahead and added my noodles. And I'm just reheating everything. These meals take less than 5 minutes to do. So I'm just adjusting my heat. I want to make sure that it's not going to get too hot and start burning. And simple as that, that meal is done. You'll of course season to taste. If you feel like it needs anything else, you'll go ahead and add it. I'm just going to go ahead and make it cute for you guys. So I just add a little parsley and a little bit of crushed red pepper. And some Parmesan. Now these, I'm sure you have these in your shelf. If you've ordered pizza lately, then you have some. So here we have it. So this is our garlic butter ramen. So let's move on to the next idea, which is a spicy veggie noodle. So to my pot, I of course added more water. And I'm going to go with the beef packet this time. So to my water, I'm just adding some garlic. I'm going to add some of the liquid from the diced tomatoes and the diced tomatoes themselves. I'm going to add some Cajun seasoning. And then I'm going to add some complete seasoning. A little cayenne. Remember, this one's spicy. And then some Frank's Red Hot. You add whatever hot sauce you like. If you don't like spicy, you don't have to add it. And then some crushed red pepper flakes. Remember, this is spicy. So we're just going to let that cook down a little. And here I'm adding my frozen vegetables. And this I want to have a soupy consistency. So here I'm adding the chicken packet back in. You can add beef. You can add whatever you like. As a matter of fact, I think that might be beef. So I'm adding some complete seasoning. Just stirring everything around. Simple, quick. And there's my noodles. And then I'm just going to pour my concoction on top of the noodles. This was super good. Super good. Great for fall, great for winter. And you have all your veggies. So there we have it. Now let's move on to our next idea, which will be chicken noodle with an egg on top. So here to my pan, I added a little bacon fat. And I just went ahead and put one egg into the pan. And I just wanted it to start to heat up, and then I'm going to take it off the stove and put it to the side. And I'm going to keep the stove on very, very low, and it'll just continue to cook just a little. So of course I'm adding water back in. This time we're going with the chicken packet, some complete seasoning, and then I'm adding a little garlic. And then a little Italian seasoning. Remember, all the measurements and such will be down below. Then we're going to add in some of our veggies, some paprika for color. Stirring everything around. Chicken noodle soup without the chicken. And here's that egg for protein. And you can cook your egg as much as you want. If you don't like egg, don't put it here, but I'm trying to be fancy. So of course I'm going to put some black pepper and a little bit of parsley. And there you have it, friends. So let's move on to our next idea, which is going to be a Fiesta noodle. Here we have our water back in just to heat up. And I'm going to use a beef packet this time. I'm going to put a little bit of adobo. And then some complete seasoning. And then I'm adding a little cumin. So I'm going to add in some diced tomato, a little bit of juice from that. And you add as much or as little as you like. And then my green sauce, I'll have the recipe link below. So we're just going to stir that to heat it. And then we're going to add in that corn that I separated. And then the black beans. And I'm just showing you what I have left over as far as the black beans. You can use that in another recipe. So here's my noodles, and I'm just going to pour this over because the noodles just need to be reheated. And this is hot enough for it. So I'm just going to go ahead and garnish it with some cilantro and some green onion and make it all fancy for you guys. So there we have it. So let's move on to our next idea. So this is going to be a stir fry with egg strips. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and add to this pan a beaten egg, and I'm going to try to flatten it out as much as I can. This was the only thing that I could use at this time. So all I'm going to do is just heat this up, and then I'm going to move it off to the side and let it finish doing its thing. Into my pan, I'm just going to go ahead and add a little oil, a little sesame oil. If you do not have sesame oil, don't worry about it. So I'm going to add my veggies. And what I realized is that I could have just went ahead and used the California blend. There was no need to have the cauliflower and the broccoli blend, and I would have been just fine. So save money and don't buy all of it if you don't need it. So to my pan, I'm adding soy sauce, a little bit of water just to go ahead and get all those nice bits off the bottom. Somebody reminded me that was fond. So go ahead and add some garlic and then your ginger and a little bit more water because you don't want anything to burn, but you don't want it to be saturated. I'm adding a little more soy sauce, a little onion powder, stirring everything around. And then we're going to add back in our noodles. Remember, we do not want our noodles to overcook, so we're just heating it through. I'm going to add that chicken packet in. And I'm only using half the packet for each one of these recipes. And you'll do it to taste. And then I'm adding more soy sauce. And it's just that simple, friends. So here I'm going to deal with my eggs. So I just pulled out my pizza cutter and all I'm doing is just cutting these eggs into strips. It's just something a little different, give a little bit of a different type of texture, but it is so good with this recipe. And also it's a way to add protein if you don't have meat on hand. So here I'm just plating everything up for you so you can see what it looks like. Super cute, super fancy, right? Who knew what you could do with a pack of 25-cent noodles? So I'm just garnishing it with, of course, some green onion and some sesame seeds that I still have left over. So there we have it. Let's move into our next idea, which is going to be some curried noodles. So here we go with our oil and that green sauce that I have. And then I'm going to add some garlic to this. And then I'm going to go ahead and start stirring everything around. You want to keep everything moving, but I want to cook this down a little. So there I've added my curry so that it can cook with those seasonings. So I've added some water because I don't want anything to burn and I want everything to incorporate. So I'm going to add a little ginger, a little complete seasoning. And then you want to stir everything around. Make sure that you're managing your heat. And there's my coconut milk there, and you add as much or as little as you like. Remember, we're only dealing with one serving of the noodles. I didn't add too much. A little black pepper for a little spice, a little garlic powder. Stir it around. Curry and garlic is a must. So I'm going to add in my cauliflower here, and that's just for a little texture, and it helps to absorb some of that curry, and that is so good. So here I'm just adding a little water and my noodles back in. Heating it through, and then once you get that coated, then you're all done. So here I'm just going to go ahead and plate it up for you and show you what it looks like. Super easy, super delicious. Remember, all these recipes can go with regular noodles or on top of a meat or whatever you have in there. I just garnished it with a little crushed red pepper and some parsley. Alright, so let's move into our next idea, which is a creamy coconut noodle. So to my pan, I just added a little bit of bacon fat. Of course, you're going to add that complete seasoning. And you're also going to add some of that green seasoning. I'll have the recipe linked down below. And then you just want to let that simmer, but you're going to keep it moving. You're going to keep an eye on it. And we're going to thin it out just a little bit to get rid of some of that liquid. I freeze mine, so there's a little bit of liquid that needs to come out. And at the same time, this will help to bring out all the flavors that's in this green seasoning. So to my pan, I'm going to go ahead and add my coconut milk, and you add as much as you want. But what we're going to do is we're going to reduce this down. So there's going to be a lot of stirring that takes place here. I have my pan on like a medium-high heat, but I'm staying around to keep stirring. This whole process is going to take about 10 minutes because you want to reduce this down. And what's going to happen is that coconut milk is going to combine with that seasoning, and it's going to be like a sweet, savory taste. It is so good. So here I'm just adding a little black pepper just to season it. So you'll season it to your taste. And I'm just making sure that I'm stirring and scraping the bottom, and I'm going to check my consistency. Once I get it to a thickness that I like, then I'll go ahead and add my noodles. But I'm just scraping the bottom of the pan, making sure that everything's moving and nothing's sticking. Alright, so once I get it to where I want it, then I'm going to add in my noodles. There, I've added in my noodles, and I'm just going to go ahead and stir everything around. I want to be careful not to play with the noodles too much because I don't want them to become mushy, but I do want them to get heated through, and I do want them to get some of that creaminess. So I just added less than a tablespoon of butter just to add to the creaminess of this dish. This was so good. This would be great on like a fish or with some shrimp and some pasta. Oh my God, this is delicious. But this was delicious as is. As you can see, all those bits of herbs from that seasoning. So good. So let's move on to our next recipe. So I'm going to do a carbonara style ramen. So here I have beaten an egg, just one egg. And I have the store-bought grated Parmesan. If you have the fancy stuff, then go ahead and add it. But this is what I had, so this is what we're going to use. And like I said, you know, your local pizza place will have it for you, so it's easy to get to. So to my pan, I added some bacon fat, and I'm going to add a little butter because I want to make sure that this stays creamy. So to my butter and oil mixture, I went ahead and added a little water. And you want a little less water than what I have in here, but this is what I was working with because I was under the gun. So there, I'm just tempering my egg by putting a little bit of that heated water into the egg. And then I put in my peas, and then I pulled the pot back off the stove because there's enough heat here to cook the egg. So you want to make sure you're stirring vigorously until the egg produces like a creamy texture. And then I'm adding more Parmesan cheese because you can't have enough Parmesan here. And it's just that simple. And I'm just mixing everything around, and then I'm going in and adding a little bit of that chicken flavored packet. And you're going to stir it around and taste for seasoning. And here I'm plating it with a slotted spoon because remember I had too much liquid, but it was just fine the way it was. It was super tasty, and the sauce thickens up on you as you let it sit. So if you're going to let it sit for a while, maybe you do need all that liquid, but I didn't need because I was going to eat it right then. So I just added some parsley, and I added some bacon bits I had in the fridge. If you don't have that, then don't use it. It's perfect as is, but why not add whatever you have in your refrigerator here with these meals. So for our last recipe, we're going to be doing a tomato and broccoli ramen. And to my pot, I'm just adding a little oil, and I added a little garlic and butter. Gonna add a little Italian seasoning, and I'm pulling out some ketchup packets. This is gonna help to balance out that tart from the diced tomatoes. So I'm just stirring everything around, making sure everything is incorporated. So here's my diced tomatoes. I'm just gonna go ahead and finish this off. So I'm going to go ahead and stir everything around, and then I'm going to put a cover on here, and I'm going to let it sit, and I'm going to let it simmer for about 5 to 10 minutes to reduce some of that liquid and to make sure everything's incorporated. So then I'm going to add some onion powder, a little bit of complete seasoning. If you don't have complete seasoning, you can use the chicken packet on its own. I'm going to go ahead and add a little parsley and just stir everything around. And then I'm just bringing in my frozen broccoli. I'm just going to stir everything around really quickly. And there I had the crushed red peppers from Domino's. And you just want it to heat through. No need to really cook anything here. So here's my noodles, and I went ahead and just put my tomato and broccolis over top. And then I pulled out some Parmesan from Domino's and sprinkled it on top. And this smelled like a pizza in a bowl. It was so good. Nice and spicy, nice and warm. So guys, there you have it. 11 ramen ideas for when you're low on a budget, but you have stuff in the freezer or fridge. Guys, thank you so much as always for joining me. I hope you're having a fantastic day. Please be sure to share, comment, and subscribe. And until the next video, guys. Bye.